Open up, laughing, joking, all of that.
You know, not taking up from Kayla. I'm still infatuated by Kayla still.
Yeah.
It's real slow. You know, I don't think it's going fast enough, but I'm trying.
You made some awesome choices.
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Bird 91. We're talking to you guys about why men don't choose their fantasies. Why men don't choose their fantasies. Why Mike is not choosing Kayla, but he wants to choose Brandy. And this is not to take away from any individual, but it's to able just to explain men and the way that we think and the way that we maneuver and handle certain situations, especially when it comes to women. Because I think that the common misconception here is that if a man is sexually attracted, he's locked in. No, that's infatuation. That's lust. But men oftentimes, they are smart in our own ways that we calculate the risk. We're like, if I go for that, that's not going to make a long-term relationship. Now, of course, men do cheat on these women as well when they decide to not go for the fantasy, which the definition of fantasy is the faculty or activity of imagining things, especially things that are impossible or improbable. That's the word fantasy. The key word here is the imagining of things, especially things that are impossible or improbable. Well, if that person's a fantasy, why would I then change that? The whole point of the reason why they're a fantasy in the first place is because they're meant to be a fantasy. You know what I'm saying? They're meant to be my imagination. They're not meant to come out of that space into reality. There is something about it that makes it intriguing. There's something that makes me aroused. And that often is a sexual aspect. That's why oftentimes when you type in fantasy, it often comes up with sex next to it, because it's the imagination and the imagining of these particular things, right? I imagine these things. It stays in my imagination, doesn't come out, it doesn't come into reality. So men don't marry the imagination or marry the fantasy, because it is in our imagination. It's supposed to stay there. It's what is our creative thinking space. It is something that gets us excited, but it's not the reality of things. That's why it says that the faculty or activity of imagining things, especially things that are impossible or improbable. Here's one. Megan Good, fantasy. It's improbable or impossible that Megan Good will end up being my wife. But your mind can imagine that because it's a fantasy. It's not supposed to come into reality, which is why they oftentimes say to you, don't meet your heroes. Because oftentimes what happens is the reality of the situation coming from the fantasy of where you had that person on a particular pedestal suddenly changes when you realize they're human like you. I'm only human after all. And so men don't oftentimes marry their fantasies. The second layer of this, and by the way, if you're new to the channel, like it, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for notification of the uploads. We appreciate you guys. Stay locked and stay loaded. The second aspect of this is oftentimes when we use the word fantasy, what it means is the person is sexy. To me, it's contextual because it's to me. And because that person is sexy to you, or they have a sexual energy to you, they can fall into the category of fantasy. Too much sexual energy for that particular individual contextually can make the man not want to pursue. I kind of explained this in another video, but I wanted to kind of break it down all the way through and properly now, right? So too much sexual energy can make the man not want to pursue. We're fine with you seducing us, but seduction doesn't mean I want to marry you. This is the key thing. You can seduce me, but the seduction doesn't mean I want to marry you. And that's a big difference. Okay, so when we talk about Mike and Kayla, I think the reason why they're struggling in the aspect of him trying to go that further is because the reality of the relationship is not manifesting in when he's connecting with Kayla. He's got a strong attraction. Did you hear the words he used? He used the words infatuation. I'll play it for you again so you can hear it. He used the words infatuation. Right? Listen to this.
But you know what I like about Brandy? You open up, laughing, joking, all of that.
You know, not taking up from Kayla. I'm still infatuated by Kayla still.
Yeah.
I'm still infatuated by Kayla still. The definition of infatuation is possessed with an intense but short-lived passion or admiration for someone. Short-lived, possessed passion of admiration for someone. Short-lived. You see, many men are, although we, in a lot of times we can think of our other head, right? If we're talking about marriage, locking ourselves in. That's how we might see it to us as men. We're going to lock ourselves in with one woman. We don't want to lock ourselves with the fantasy. We don't want to lock ourselves down with the woman that we find sexually attractive because not sexually attractive, that we are infatuated by, because we know that this feeling, it might not last forever. We also know that. We know that's not enough to sustain a relationship. We know there is more to us than just sex. We know this, right? Now, whether men that make that correct choice or not is another story. But we know that. So when men are trying to be more intentional about choosing a partner, when men are trying to make sure they go after the right woman, the fantasy isn't the one you go for. You sleep with the fantasy. You have sex with the fantasy, but you don't marry the fantasy. Because the fantasy is able to put you in a state of fantasy. You draw out those things out of me. And look at another definition of infatuation. Infatuation is simply a very strong and intense feeling of attraction, fascination, and captivation you feel towards someone. But in this feeling of infatuation, you might not really know this person really well. This is key. You might not know this person really well. One of the things he says about him and Brandy is that they've got to know each other really well. Right? That's one of the things he says. Him and Brandy have got to know each other really well. Right? So for him, in this situation with Brandy, it's not an infatuation piece. He says with Kayla, it's a struggle to get, it's been slow in getting to know her. Listen to this.
It's real slow. I don't think it's going fast enough, but I'm trying.
You made some awesome choices, but it's gonna be up to you.
It's going real slow, it's going real slow getting to know Kayla. So back to that infatuation piece. But in this feeling of infatuation, you might not really know this person really well. However, the feeling is still intense. It just leans on more physical attractions and fantasies in general. Fantasy, infatuation. He's taken off. He's the one that said these words. I ain't really said these. The words that have been coming out of his mouth. So I'm just kind of using it. Fantasy, infatuation. So what's gonna come next is I can get on a sexual wavelength with you. I find you attractive physically. I want to bone you, but I don't really have the I want to wife you energy. Now, this could be an indication of a wider problem for Kayla, or it could just simply mean it's just Mike, right? It could simply mean just Mike, or this particular cohort of people. So it can be open, right? It can be open in that respect. But yeah, it's a interesting situation with Mike and with Kayla. And so with Brandy, we saw, even in that scene with his friend, and then maybe I can do another part to this, how he was involved with Brandy. He liked Brandy. He wants Brandy in a relationship form because it's safe. Because it goes beyond, for him, it goes beyond just the fantasy. It goes beyond sex. It goes beyond that. There's a genuine connection there of emotion, and he's able to what? Open up. Let me play that clip so you can understand. Look what the friend says about their situation, right? Listen to this. What she said she likes about with the Brandy situation.
Brandy, you open up, laughing, joking, all of that.
Not taking up from Kayla.
He said laughing, joking, all of that. You open up. You're laughing, you're joking, all of that. That's what we're talking about. With Brandy, that's the safety. The safety is I can open up to you. The unsafe place is I may not be able to open up to you the same way I open up to Brandy, I open up to you, Kayla. I'm sure you might open up to Kayla, but it might not feel the same, might not be the same in a way that way, right? But it's and also there's an emotional aspect to getting to know someone as well, which is really important as well. Maybe that's that missing spark and link between Mike and Kayla as well. But like, share, subscribe, click on that bell button. Let me know your thoughts down below. Maybe you agree or disagree. Let me know. Want to hear your thoughts as well. Much love.